Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of Intuitive Idiots. No, we did not get discouraged. Andre was just busy last week.
I was very busy. Yeah, it was horrible. I don't do overtime, but I actually had to stay 3 hours after work. And inventory time, dude. Inventory time. Not fun. So, how's it been?
I went to, you ever hear of
No.
Port Hudson?
Oh,
Neither had I. It's a very tiny little town, about an hour and a half north of here, northwest. And there was a very famous Civil War battle.
oh.
There's a siege, 48 days,
What's the name of the
48-day siege.
I don't
Port
recognize
Hudson.
that. Interesting.
Yeah, I had no idea that this was like in my backyard down here. But Amy had gone just for the trails because she liked to walk on the trails and it's nice nature and all that. Actually, because of your videos, I showed her the videos that you had sent me walking around and around where you live. And so that gave her the idea to go up there. She said it kind of looks like that. And so we went and picked out the trail. And so then we went to the museum after that. There's a little museum on the property. And of course, then I went down a rabbit hole looking up like personal accounts of the siege and everything. It was a big deal because it was 1863 at this point. And at the same time, the Battle of Vicksburg was going on. So if you look at a map, you have Vicksburg's about, I don't know, 3 hours north of a drive from here. So probably 2 hours north of a drive from where we were. And they're both on the Mississippi.
Yeah.
And those are the last two Confederate strongholds on the Mississippi River. So there's a lot of death too. And like it's crazy. Just the like per capita death for each side now, especially the Union.
Sometimes one battle, the amount of deaths would be more than Vietnam. The entirety of Vietnam is nuts.
Well, and they had about 5,000 deaths from disease alone because it was May through July in South Louisiana. So
I don't go with this.
Yeah, and then almost 1,000 killed in action. And there wasn't like any buildings or any like real buildings there. It was just the Confederates took a high ground, and a few days before the siege, shoveled a shit ton of dirt around it, and they called it Fort Desperate. And like that, it was earthworks. It was earthworks. It was just this man-made
palisade walls and
levee, and they would just pop up from there. And so the Union would use trenches on the way up this high ground. But the thing is, it's such like swampy, because it's right off the river. It's like swampy soil, and it's quite the environment.
Is it still kind of like, did they keep up on it to look like the original fort, or is it just a mound at this time?
That's the thing. There was no original fort.
Earthworks and all that you described, are those?
Yeah, well, that I mean, it was built up so high that it's still there. Like, I mean, of course, like it doesn't have the artillery and stuff still there. So,
did you take any pictures?
Yeah. Yeah. Although it doesn't really do it justice. It kind of just looks like grass.
Pictures sometimes. Yeah. It's all about angles.
But yeah, it was cool. I'd never really been into like war battlefields, that sort of thing. But we stopped by one in Greensboro, North Carolina last month because I wanted to go to that vintage toy store, and my dad wanted to see it just because we were in Greensboro. That was a Revolutionary War battlefield. I ended up reading up on that, and thought that was pretty interesting, like how the battles went down and the precursor to them, like the context, and then actually how they fight, which is just so foreign to today's technology.
Oh yeah, dude. I highly recommend watching Ken Burns' American Revolution. I highly recommend that.
Yeah,
He did
he did a
Civil
Civil
War.
War
I
one
have those on
too.
VHS. Yeah, dude. If you want to kind of brush up and just get familiar, that's the best thing to do. And then you can kind of dive in more, especially with YouTube these days. Holy shit. The amount of channels that are devoted to each battle, each movement, each campaign, and oh Lord.
That's just it. With Port Hudson, there's
Really?
not a whole lot out there, and it was a huge battle. So I kind of trailed off when I was talking about why it was a big deal, but Vicksburg's going on at the same time. The only reason why the Confederates surrendered was they heard that Vicksburg
Hmm.
was surrendered first. They're like, shit,
There's nothing
well,
to
there's
defend.
no point in holding this down. We have nothing here. Everybody was starving too, because the Union cut off all their supplies. They were eating rats and
Yep.
dogs and shit. So, and the craziest thing I think was because I ended up reading like letters and personal accounts and stuff. Uh, it was
Huh.
Captain DeForest, Captain William DeForest of the Union. He wrote a pretty long personal account. It was published in 1867, so pretty recent from the events. And he's got like a sense of humor about it,
Huh.
um, but he's also very, human about it and serious too. And but just how we talked
True.
about how when they had an armistice, the guys would just from each side would just chill
Hmm.
and talk and trade like knives for just trade things, from one guy to another. Like sometimes the other side would like make a really good shot and like not hit anybody, but hit something that they would like put up. They'd all like cheer them on, and then they're just like, well, wartime. All right, now we're gonna kill each other once again.
And this is called Fort Hope, right? Hudson.
Fort
Oh, okay.
Hudson,
Okay.
Hudson.
Huh. Louisiana, the longest siege in American military history, May 22nd to July 9th, 1863, 48 days. Damn. Union troops numbered around 30,000 to 40. Geysers. Fall of
Yeah,
Vicksburg, yeah. So, yeah, like it says right here, the original trenches and breastworks are still visible. A state historic site, which is obviously what you're talking about here. Wow. Can you feel it when you were there? Could you just feel anything? Okay,
that's what I was
cool.
about to tell you. Was yeah, like there are definitely some
Yep.
lost souls out there. Uh, it felt like if you ever had a bunch of company over for a holiday, like friends or family, and they're there for a few hours, and then right after they leave, and you
Mm,
have that vacuum, that
yeah.
just like that emptiness, like that loud silence.
Wow.
That
Interesting.
yeah,
How did that make you feel?
I was purposely like just kind of monitoring how things
Hmm.
affected me physically. My nose hurt for a bit. Um, and like I said, it just felt like that that stark like void, that
Mm,
vacuum, you know, the vacuum of emptiness where like there were just all these people here and now like boom, they're gone.
like a stain almost.
Yeah, like when you just come out of that, you're like sobering up from
Yeah.
being around people,
Hmm.
you know.
The stuff starts to come down a little bit. Interesting. What do you think that is?
Yeah, and slowly like
Wow.
slowly your heart sinks. You know?
So if you describe it as such, like things that you're feeling, what do you think that is? Do you think that's this residual energy kind of finding conduits, if you will, or do you think there's something more intelligent behind it?
could be,
Mm.
disembodied people who are, credit to Ken Wheeler. Um, he's a guy on YouTube. I'll put his channel up. But he talks about the cold cathode effect.
What's that?
So essentially, it's like if you ever stretch a rubber band, right? It gets hot. Yeah, if you ever stretch a rubber band out and you like put it up to your face, it's
Oh,
hot.
I didn't
It's a
know
little
that.
bit hot. And once you um, put it back to let it snap, it gets cold.
Huh. Thing.
Now there's no heat or cold being like applied to it. It's just like once the energy is spent, it kind of creates this cold little mass of air, a very small
Yeah.
scale with a rubber band. And so he uses that to when he talks about apparitions and ghosts. And so yeah, that could be it. And like it was a cold day, so it's hard to tell if there were like
Right.
pockets of cold. There were definitely some areas that were a lot colder than others, but you also have a lot of like small hills there too. So with all the trenches that were built, and they filled a lot of them in apparently, but still it's like it's
Mm.
coming off of the river. So the river's like right here, and then right away there's a natural
I
levee
see.
from the river, and then a series of natural levees. And so it's a lot more dynamic of a landscape than most of
I see.
southern Louisiana, which is mostly
True. True.
flat, but because of the river. So it could have been that.
Oh.
Um, there was definitely like you ever been like in the forest, which
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have, when there's like a breeze that comes through,
Sometimes. Yeah.
and but it's not just like it'll be an isolated breeze, like in just one little section of tree you
Mm-hmm.
seem to be talking.
Yeah.
It gets louder, very, very slowly though, and you can like pinpoint exactly where it's coming from. Then eventually it just hits you and takes over the whole
Very interesting.
everything around you.
Hmm.
Definitely had that. I'd like to go back to that was another thing. Like as soon as I got home, I was
Hmm.
like, I want to go
Really?
back.
Like felt drawn to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And then of course I read a whole shit ton
Well,
on
I
it
guess I could.
too. So
Was it drawn out
usually
of curiosity or
hmm?
drawn out of something that you can't quite like? I can't put my finger on. Hmm.
Both. I
Hmm.
don't know. It's just something that at least for me, I don't think about that much.
The Civil War in general, or in wars. Okay.
Wars
Hmm.
in like the old school, like not that I think of World War One and Two all that much, but I probably think
Right.
more about them than old timey
Yeah.
wars before those, before the 1900s, and just the stuff that the things that created our country. Um, and these guys who were willing to fight to the
Yeah, I
death.
know. It's pretty bizarre. Not in a bad way. I mean, like it's just crazy that our mind can do that. Like if you look at World War I, so like a good movie that captures it in a sense is like All Quiet on the Western Front. Have you seen that one? Oh man, that's on
Uh,
Netflix now if you have Netflix. But the way that they're getting these young boys to be all ready to go and fight for the fatherland, they're all so happy and giddy to do it, and it's been like that for a long time. We always get young boys to fight these wars, and Peter Jackson made a documentary, and they were the last of the guys talking about World War I before they died, and so many of them talked about being 14 years old and lying and saying, "Oh, I'm old enough to fight." They're at 14, and I'm sitting there thinking, like me at 14 years old, being that ready to fight. And I know there's a lot of things that play in it. If you've been on a farm your whole life, you don't know what to expect compared to nowadays, where it's like anything's accessible. I can watch horrible videos on the internet nowadays, whereas back then you maybe that has something to do with it, why they were so gung ho, and maybe why people aren't now. I don't know. That's not the point. But it is interesting to what you were saying, the sentiment. They're willing to do this for their country, and I'm like, I guess it blows my mind that like you could do that for an idea, because that's how things start. Like if I'm fighting for freedom, that's an idea. I have to make that happen. It's crazy, man, when I think about that kind of stuff. Things are born from basically nothing and come into this world like a concept, a thought form or whatever. If me and you are going to fight over a land, that's not real until the outcome happens. And then all of a sudden now it's mine or yours. You know what I'm saying? It's interesting how you can do
Yeah.
that. Can I say,
And
as you understand it, what would this civil war be fought over? So the original one we had here long ago was state rights. Then it kind of turned into the abolishing of slavery. It had a cavalcade of things going on. What are the things that would trigger
yeah,
this war now? Is it a race war? Is it a war on culture? Is it a war on, like in a political sense? Like, I guess, how do you understand?
um, I think the trans thing is a real issue. Like that's one that if you're a moderate, even moderately conservative, probably even moderately liberal, you're gonna be like, no, that's fucking make believe. Um, People feel strongly about the abortion laws, but I don't see that being a cause
Yeah.
for a civil war. Um, Maybe a number of things like the immigration
Yeah,
stuff,
I've been hearing a little bit more
welfare.
about that stuff actually, the immigration stuff. And
I found it hilarious that you were all stick to your own kind, and then you do this video that I'm shocked to see you saying, "Man, we're a nation of immigrants.
yeah, this
We're
nation
all
is, but don't do
immigrants."
that in Ireland. Don't do that in England. Don't do that in India. But in America, it's fine because we are. That's what we are here. I guess if I was born here,
Where do you think the people in Ireland came
well,
from?
well,
Middle Earth?
I think there's a time limit if we have to make a time limit.
What
Yeah,
about
because you got to think
borders?
like,
There were borders, like you had a united country that had an agreement, which borders don't actually mean anything, but when you have, they're symbolic of a united country who has laws. We are a nation of immigrants, but
yeah, I
so
know
is
when you
every
go
other
back
nation.
and you look at like the history of England, the Saxons, the
That means we just
Normans, the Vikings, the Britons, every nation on earth is a nation of someone took it from another person, kind of thing. And you can't escape that. You go anywhere. I mean, even if you prove that certain people have been there since the prehistoric age or whatever they call it, I'm sure that they didn't just appear there. Yeah, I know. Everybody's an immigrant somewhere eventually. Depends on what you mean by that. And I think that's a definition that maybe is a little obsolete, just based on learning history, where people, again, don't appear out of nowhere. They walk somewhere. And I'm sure one day they're like, hey, that's my area you walked into, and
the
wars
issue
happen.
is legal immigration versus
Right.
illegal immigration. Like, we've had legal immigration forever. My mom's a legal immigrant,
Yeah, all my opinions.
you know, and all the people that are getting targeted now, they had a year to get their
Yeah.
shit right. They were warned, and these are laws that have been on the books
Hmm.
for 30 years and just were never enforced.
I actually, personally don't give a shit, if people, either way, but I can understand the logic of what you're saying though. Like you're not wrong. I don't really have a strong opinion one way or another. I always end up playing devil's advocate too many times to the point where even I don't know what I believe, you know. But I understand what you're saying. It's very interesting, and I guess, but could that be a catalyst for a conflict? You think?
I mean, look at what's going on now, right? Now, a lot of it's drummed up. And there's some other shit that's going
What's
on in
that?
Minnesota.
Dude, you got to remember, I don't know anything. I know
Uh,
nothing.
the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor of Minnesota were caught basically funneling money through these Somalian daycare centers
Huh.
that they weren't actually daycare centers. They were run by illegal immigrants from Somalia.
Okay. Where's Somalia at? Is that in
Yeah,
Africa?
Somalia, I believe so. Like
Isn't that
Middle
where we
East,
were at
Africa,
in
so
like the
like
90s
northern.
or the 2000s? Some Somalian shit. Yeah,
No, it's
I'm
all
sure it
connected.
is. Yeah, I
Sure.
remember now. What was that Black Hawk Down shit? I remember now. You should pull up articles and read off of them, and you could be that guy. So you can come across a little bit more, because I can be the idiot. It's fine, but go ahead and read articles.
Yeah. So it's the eastern tip of Africa, sort of in the
Not my
middle,
people.
like right below Yemen and Saudi Arabia, if you know where that is.
Yeah, like geographically. Those aren't my people. My people were on the west.
Yeah. Yeah. Either way, so there's a lot of talk that they were ready to go with some sort of, they're basically running interference for that whole investigation.
Huh.
Um,
Wonder why they would do that.
you know,
Is it just money? That's it.
but I'd imagine it starts with
Yeah.
something little, and then, well, to cover that up, it's just like, with lies. You start with the little lie, and then you have to lie to
Yeah.
cover up that lie, and then a bigger lie to cover up that one, and then so on and so forth. And then it just years and years pass, and
Do you really think that there's a possibility that there could be a civil war, or do you think it's kind of blown out of proportion a bit?
I seriously doubt it. I mean, people just talk shit over,
Uh-huh.
their computers.
Yeah, conflicts.
Like
I
you'd
mean,
have to get, hmm? I just say you'd have to get everybody
yeah.
organized. Like they have like skirmishes every few years, but
What was that stuff that happened in what was it, Portland? They took over the city for a little bit, and is that still going on? Like, what's going on over there?
poor poor was like it was during the 2020 and 2021 riots. They took over like parts of the city, and the mayor and local government wouldn't do anything about it. If they didn't want help with it, they're like, no, like, stay out of our city. Like, okay, like they're destroying your city. Um, that's all that was about. Apparently, they tried that in Minneapolis, but it got taken out
Okay.
like the next day. So
And what I know this that could go into deep fucking conversations when it comes to the reasoning behind all this stuff, but I mean, I guess to try to find it seems like our topic to now is Civil War.
I don't think that we'd have a civil war today, just with the way like unless another country orchestrated it.
Hmm.
Because with our government, they would just infiltrate whatever group online and de-escalate things from there, or arrest everyone.
Well,
So
and there's
yeah,
something too about with all these data centers and with China and their data centers, and there could be a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to say it's information war stuff, but I do see that as something that is happening right now. That's why they're pushing these data centers like crazy, hiring these contractors to go out there and do this. I don't know the truth behind all that. That's just shit I've been hearing people
mhm,
talk about out here.
definitely
Something about the
disconcerting.
way we're doing it
But
is a little bit more backwards, where we're behind the ball on that. China's been doing this for so long, and they wonder how much
yeah,
is with what's going on in the news and how much is even real because of how ahead they are. I don't know the truth of all this, but that could be a crazy catalyst to this.
hmm,
Make us fight ourselves instead of a great war between China and America, or the United States.
yeah. I mean, there are plenty of politicians that have been in the back pocket of China, spying for China. Um,
But we're not making it easier for people to side with us with this whole, even if good or wrong, I don't know. I'm not saying good or bad, but like, with the Argentina thing and with some other things going on in other countries, people don't necessarily, I don't know. I'm hoping we're not just isolating ourselves, I'm not saying
it's
it's good or bad. It's just something that you're perceived as. That's what
the
it is.
Venezuela thing. They're trying to pawn it off like
Said
it's
Argentina.
like we're playing world police or something. But it's like this is completely different from Iraq, Afghanistan, all that. They're trying to harken it back to something
Mm.
like that. Uh, and it's like I think I explained that to you. Like Russia and China were already there. Like it's a giant scramble for power. We're just defending ourselves.
Mhm.
And lest you forget, like, but a couple of years ago, the same people that are bitching about Venezuela now were bitching about the fact that they wanted Biden to go in and take out
Oh, really?
Maduro. You know, yeah, because he was an evil dictator and this, that, and the other. But now that Trump does it, it's
Yeah.
bad. So
People kick and scream no
that's
matter what, even if it's for their own good.
yeah, and that's kind of so I had
You wrote something.
yeah, and originally last week I was going to talk about
Oh, okay.
egregores, and I kind of reached the bottom of the barrel with that, or at least the glass ceiling maybe for now. I tried writing it out, but it kind of just ended up going a lot of different directions. And look, it's one of those things. Like I'm not just going to stay on that. Like, if it needs to come
Mm.
up again, it will. I eventually ended up, thinking about the meaning crisis, and like it's all about where you even, and it's related to egregores too. It's all about attention. Energy flows where attention
Yeah.
goes, something like that. The guys in the Civil War, like they didn't like what else were you actually going to do? For a lot of them, right? I'm not trying to shit on them or anything, but
Yeah, I mean they were only this localized thing. Like this guy was the blacksmith, that guy was the cobbler, this person worked in the grocer, and then blah blah blah. Like they were communal people in their own little areas, but we're starting to get to the point where
mhm,
the state is really growing in a concept where like, okay, what about state rights? What about unification, the federalization of our country? Like shit was starting to get to that point,
yeah,
and people were just caught up in it for good or for worse.
yeah. And it's there's no way to like discern things. You can't well, this guy on YouTube said that this is actually
Yeah.
about this other thing. You only knew like what the newspaper said, what your family and friends said.
Hmm.
So, but it goes to show you, like, you will do things, like it's your attention will go somewhere. And everybody wants to fight a war, like especially young men.
Yeah.
It's
It
just kind of
is.
ingrained.
Yes, it is.
I'm sure scientists can break it down to hormones and
It's a
everything, but
purpose too. It's a purpose thing, and
yeah,
it's our job as older guys to be the ones to help them in that. We're the ones that are supposed to push them through that shit. Because if a conflict was happening now, if it has been happening for some time, we would be the ones that have been there for a while. And it's
yeah,
a male ritualistic kind of maturity thing. It's just you play the part, and we all understand that that's our fucking role. Even if you're not into combat, like
yeah,
shit hits the fan, you need to be ready to do that kind of shit.
yeah. So you ever look up in space
Sometimes,
like at night,
yeah,
look up at the stars? Yeah. How does it make you feel?
grounded.
I was like 16 or somewhere in there. And me and my friends, we used to go to this little area, this little strip of land. It's right next to the train tracks. I think it's called the right of way, but it's just like cleared land that they keep cleared next to the train tracks, I guess, in case you need to make repairs or do anything. So it's
Yeah.
like behind the houses. And so we'd sneak under the fence and go back there to drink because there's nobody back there. It was dark. And so I'm chilling with a bunch of friends. We're all drinking beer. Um, my gut starts to defy me. And so I kind of meander away from the group. I don't want to throw up in front of the guys, kind of a party foul. And I don't want to throw up, period. So I end up looking up at the stars and it calmed my stomach.
Hmm. Interesting.
And I was like, huh. It made me feel smaller, but in a kind of a secure
Hmm.
way. And I remember my girlfriend in college talking with her about that, and she didn't like it. Freaked her out
Really,
to look at the stars and feel
really.
small. And I'm like, but that's the point. she's like, I feel it's so insignificant. I said, that's the point. Like, so all that bullshit that you worry about every day is also
Hmm.
insignificant. She didn't
Huh.
agree, but whatever. Uh, and so over the years, from time to time, look up in the sky, and it always does the same thing. Kind of a calming. You think about it, like this is the same thing that people have been looking up at
Yeah,
for
that's what comes to
millions of
mind for me.
years.
That's what I love about it.
And like whatever can happen in your life or in the world, like that just stays.
It's interesting that you
Hmm?
say it makes you feel insignificant, small, or one. It makes someone feel, because I don't get that feeling when I look up there. It makes me kind of feel like grounded, connected with my ancestors, and very just here.
Hmm.
It makes it, that's why I use the word grounded. I feel like I'm okay. I'm here. I'm doing this. Hmm.
Just like in relation, like me, my
Yeah,
situation.
I can understand that though. That makes complete sense.
It wasn't until I guess 2 days ago now. I was 2 days ago years old when I realized, oh shit, I taught a poem in my class multiple times. That was like the same, it's oddly similar. It's by Walt
Oh, okay.
Whitman called When I Heard the Learned
No, but
Astronomer.
I know
You've
Walt
read it?
Whitman, Civil War.
So he did
He
Civil
was
War
around during
poetry.
that time. He went to the, if I'm not mistaken, went to the hospitals and wrote about what he saw there. And yeah,
Hmm.
not mistaken.
He
Oh,
was from Long
really?
Island too. Yeah, we have a Walt Whitman Mall on the North Shore.
Yeah, he was born 1819
It's for
in West Hills.
all
West
the bougie
Hills.
people go. Yeah, West Hills. That's my sister worked at West Hills. They have a
Guess
summer
where he
camp there.
died? Jersey. Jersey.
Guess where he died?
He's like, not surprising.
Yeah, yeah, when I heard the learned astronomer, the proofs, the figures were arranged in columns before me. When I was shown the charts and diagrams to add, divide, and measure them, when I sitting heard the astronomer where he lectured with much applause in the lecture room, how soon unaccountable I became tired and sick, till rising and gliding out, I wandered off by myself in the mystical moist night air, and from time to time looked up in perfect silence at the stars.
Hmm.
You got sick, you looked at the
Right.
stars, and you felt better.
Connected.
Yeah. And then you also have the dichotomy of like,
I
experience
was,
versus,
yep.
learning it
Yeah.
from a
That's
book.
exactly where I was going to go with that too.
How experience is more valuable, and how also when you break down everything into numbers and chunk everything down, you
Yeah,
lose
and
the
I
meaning of it.
was even going to say, like, sometimes you hear a bunch of other men talking about what this is, right or wrong. Sometimes you just can't feel that. But when you go experience it for yourself, even if it's indescribable, even if, like, I listen to an astronomer talk about what the stars are, and he's not wrong, but it didn't connect with me, and I go out and I've actually look, that means more to you. And that's a calming thing to how you identify what that is in your life, is how I could read that too.
Absolutely. Um, but yeah, so I I would teach this poem to kids every year. I never connected
Isn't that funny
my
how that happens?
experience with that until just the other day. Um, and I would, explain to them kind of what we just said. Like the meaning is the most important thing. Like you're going to learn more from it. You're going to retain more from an experience because it meant something to you. Something in a book might not,
Right.
unless you use your imagination. But that's like
I
that's
just
another
want to say
video.
too, real quick, this isn't all interesting connected because you were talking
Yeah.
about Civil War earlier, and I don't think he was in the Civil War, but I remember him saying that he volunteered in hospitals, and then his experience of the Civil War was
Yeah.
in those hospitals, and he changed poetry
Huh.
forever because of the way he wrote and how he talked and stuff. So that's why I thought it was interesting that it's all connected.
Yeah.
Interesting guy.
So that leads us to the meaning crisis, right? Because it goes to show you that meaning is
Yeah.
everything. Like none of this actually matters. Physical things, it's we have everything we could want, more or less, technologically, food,
Yeah.
safety, entertainment. Um, but it's like without a meaning or a purpose,
Right.
none of it matters. None of it
Exactly.
means
What's the
anything,
point? What's the point?
right? I was watching this guy, Bald and Bankrupt. He goes around the world and travels, and this big old English guy, bald. He kind of looks like me, actually. Except a bit taller, I think. Um, and so he was had a connecting flight in Manila, and he just went around like the slums of Manila, the Philippines, and there are all these kids running around. I mean, it's the standard of
Yeah.
living there is it's rough. This one kid, it's like a teenager, and he wanted to show him his house, and he showed him his house, and it's like showed him his bedroom, and it's just a room, like no window, no light. There's some carpet on the floor. There's a
So
blanket
that
that he
means
lays down on. Like,
that
the
probably
dude
means
doesn't have a
everything to him
mattress.
though.
Well, but the thing is, like, there, like,
Mhm.
family is everything. People have the one kid. He's like, "How many brothers and sisters do you have?" And the
Yeah.
kid had to think about
Hmm.
it. He's like, "7 brothers? No, 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 8." No, he's like
Yeah.
counting them in his head, and it's like
Hmm.
that's their meaning in life. Nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of when you have like a family like that, it almost feels like in rough conditions too. The meaning's just obvious. It's
Yeah, because
built in.
sometimes in places like that, or third world places, if you want to call them that, or Aboriginal, the community raises them. You don't think of this is my child, that's my child. Every single kid is your child, and their
Oh
child,
yeah,
and their child. And it's like a communal aspect of raising.
yeah.
So meaning's created differently.
And it's something
We
that
do it
we've
much differently over
lost.
here.
I
They
feel
call it
like we've
closed
lost a lot of
family,
that.
how we do things here. It creates isolation pockets everywhere. Not that the other way can either, but anyway.
So I'm trying to connect that.
I have,
I guess I just
well, and
did.
I also think like, so when we're talking about meaning, the reason I need meaning in my life is because I don't feel it, so it's reactionary. If I want something, it's because I need something in a sense, right? Like if I'm sitting here in the middle of the pouring rain and going, "Oh my God, this is horrible," well, that means I need to do something in order to get meaning, and that meaning might be getting a fucking home, somewhere to have shelter, and that's on a spiritual level too. And I'm thinking what you're proposing here. The interesting thing about human beings is we're subjective all at once, but at other times we're like collective, right? Like me and you could have subjective opinions about topics, but we're also united in a sense that we're both American, we're both white guys, we're both I don't know. I'm sure there's other similarities that you could find that would define us. Like even right or wrong define us. So we do share aspects, but then we don't. So the uniting factor is what you live under. So I'm a Catholic, right? So that would be your uniting factor. So that means you just kind of do what the Catholics do and be what a Catholic is. And that's just a uniting factor with other Catholics. I mean, you can disagree about what the Holy Spirit is, but at the same time, you both agree that it exists. As two Americans, that's what unites us. So we could say, well, I don't agree with abortion. And you're like, well, I don't either, blah, blah, blah. But if a war happens, we're united. Like we have to. I can't be like, well, I don't believe in this. Like I
Yeah.
can't do that. So the meaning comes from a place of unity generally, because you can have your own personal meaning, but you're on an island. You know what I mean? So you have to participate with the world around you, whatever your culture is or your time says. So to me, I think as you were talking about everyone kind of being on their phones and then the world being so chaotic, but at the same time, it's like I can sit here and watch YouTube videos of I don't know, something very specific and get lost in that. I think what we're talking about here is a uniting factor. That's what I'm going to throw into this theory to see how you feel about it. I don't know. This is just my musing right now.
Let me ask you something. When you write and you talk about, um, train of
Stream of
consciousness,
consciousness.
right? Sometimes, how do you structure that,
I
if
don't
at
in the
all?
moment. So it's different for everything. So if it's a video where I'm talking about something, there is no structure. If it's my
Yeah,
writing, which is purposeful, then
yeah,
it's very different. So I guess I'd have two different answers for each one.
yeah. The
Okay.
writing I was
So
referring to.
I have a general outline of what I want to do in the story, but it's fucking vague. As in, I'm going to live, I'm going to kind of go through something, and I'm going to meet this guy, and then I'm going to die. Like, that's how vague the story is. I kind of understand, but it's on many multifaceted levels, from Quinlan to Quirtus to Nacum to Eris to Dove and Harrius. Everyone has their own arc in my head. Um, so
Do
no,
you write that out, or is it that's
depends.
just
Depends
there?
on if I need to flesh it out, because I'm like, well, I kind of want something to happen here, but I don't know what. So if I can't create a scene where I can make that happen, then I have to fucking go off and just let it tell me, let the story inform me. And it's the idea is if
Yeah,
you become more informed with your own inner world and your own inner, monologue, then you work together in tandem. I mean,
you have the outline up here. You let the story
there
flow
we
from
go.
your fingertips. At what point do you just walk away from it and come back the next day and then edit it down,
Uh,
or
so depends on what like the Forgotten series is I'm writing that and that's just happening. There is no editing. Like the editing will be grammatical and shit, and I might add stuff. That's
yeah,
very light. That's its own. Yeah.
well, that's editing.
The
So I'm saying, like, what do you take a step away from it before you go
so
back and do
I'll
that?
I'll have I'll
So you're
have
in
the
the frame of
stream,
mind.
I'll have the dream. I'll think like, man, that might be kind of cool if we did that, and then I let it fester. Then I go and write it in the typewriter. I re-explore these dreams, see if there's something happening in it. Then I set it down and say, okay, first, like right now, it's been months before I've already written the next episode, but I haven't done anything.
When you say re-explore, do you mean
No,
just read
no.
it
So
over?
like, how you say? You have a dream and you go, holy shit, one of those dreams where it's prophetic or it's really powerful.
Yeah.
Then I say, let's go back in that dream through the stream. So through the stream of consciousness, I'm going to re-explore it in the waking realm. I let my mind go and I walk back into that dream and look around now and say, like, what was I not seeing before? Wait a minute, who was that guy? Stuff like that. Just re-explore the dream.
Mm-hmm.
But mind you, every writing session's vastly different. The books I do much differently. The books I don't do that stuff at all.
A, that's something I was having trouble with, and then B, it kind of relates to what you were saying with a
Mm-hmm.
uniting factor. Right? Because if you've ever written down your dreams, you know that, like, at the time you may not
Yeah.
realize what the fuck is going on. You're just writing, especially
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
groggy and just wake up, write down like jumped into a pond and
Yeah.
met
Something
a
like
mermaid, whatever it is.
that.
But then if you look at it like a few hours later, you'd be like, oh, that was about, I'm worried
Yeah.
about
Yep.
work or something. There's one person at
Yes, there's
work that
depths
was
to
not.
it. There's some dreams are
Um,
things are being told to you from an outside source, and you have to figure that
yeah,
out.
I just see a parallel with things like, they show something on the news, and if you show somebody the video, right, like something, they can just write down like what happened. They can tell you right back what happened. But then something happens where a few hours later it becomes this interpretation of it,
Yes.
which can be very
Well,
different depending on
and it
what you want
skews
to
how you
believe.
understand it. So a huge example of this is Roman texts about understanding their world. you're only going to understand the world through a Roman eye or a Greek eye, if we're talking about Greek writers like Herodotus and some,
Yeah.
you know. So you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. Like, was he fucking belittling these people because they're barbarians, or did they really fucking eat their children? I don't know. They talk about dog-headed people. Like, is that a racist thing, or is it like, no, like he thought there was literally dog-headed people? So like, and a source from a
Mhm.
source. A lot of the times, like for instance, when we look at ancient texts, the only way we know they exist is because this guy talked about this guy. He's like, well, everyone knows this story that he wrote about, so I won't even talk to you, but I'll give you the outline. And now we only know, you know, 5 sentences of a story that was ancient because this guy just related a little bit. And that skews how you understand it. You know, if I tell you a little
Yeah.
story about my book two and I just tell you 5 sentences, that's all you're going to know. And now you're going to take that and then learn how to define it in
Well,
that
that goes
sentence.
back to your writing. It's you're just writing about the parallel there. You're just writing about you call them your dreams.
Yeah.
Actually, you call them that, right? Um, Dreams or imagination. You're just writing the story as it is. Do you ever feel like you don't get the full meaning until
Yeah.
you come back and look
Yep.
at it?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like in the dream,
I go back and sorry, I go back and look at my stuff and I'm like, there is no meaning. And I just throw it out and then I
well,
start
and
writing something
so
else.
that can happen. For again, this is my own personal experience with it. That you can kind of come back to it and be like, what the fuck is this? Sometimes you can intuit, I don't like that. And so what I do is I shelve it. I just take the section out and I mark down when I wrote it and I kind of say why I didn't like it and I file it away. That way I'll like, oh, wait a minute, that does work.
Mm.
It's how you don't fully get rid of it. But let's say I look at it again and I don't get it. I'll do the thing where I say I let it stew. I'll just kind of let it sit over there in the corner and I watch the world tell me if it's right or wrong. As in, I might be editing one of my videos and I say something and I'm like, wait a minute. And it triggers my remembering of a book I read, and as well as a conversation we had. Oh, I know what to do with that now. That does make sense. So I let the world tell me when it manifests like that. If you don't know what to do, the answers will come to you. You just have to be patient. You know, if you're on a deadline, that's hard. You got to find a new way to do it. I don't know that, but I would say set it aside, mark down the area you don't like, just circle it, rip it out, or whatever, and say, I wrote it on this date, and here's exactly why I don't like it. Set it aside, say what page it was, so you can splice it back in if need be, and then just rewrite it. If you don't like the rewrite, well, then write something new. If you don't like something new, then just leave it alone and just move on. You know, for me, I can only say this when it comes to fiction. I don't know when it comes to theses and like I don't know, we're exploring a concept in a very not scientific, but I can't think of that fucking word right now, but basically like like a theory or a theorem. I don't know about that stuff. But I'm assuming it may work
Yeah.
as well.
Like I'm so good at writing,
Shoot,
autobiographical
gets what you
things
know.
and or even just like a storybook kind of interaction with characters. But I've been trying to write about, like these universal
Well, there's your answer. There's your answer.
laws.
You got to write what you know, right? That's
Oh,
the it's one of those things that hits you and you're like, yeah, dumb fuck, I know, write what you know. That how else can you write? But you find, well, it was easier to write autobiographical stuff because that's your life. You know that. But when we're talking about ethereal stuff, I'm not saying you won't know it, but you don't right now. So you just gotta,
should I just write this story that because for each one there's a story that
yeah,
I can easily relate. I like
write the story.
this one. I was drinking with my friends, and then um,
Okay, so
yeah,
here, let me
okay,
tell you this though.
I'll do that.
So this isn't a dream. This really happened, but it works the same. My first thought was when you first told me, you said I was feeling kind of sick because I was drinking beer. Now I don't know how long you've been drinking beer at that point and how much of a stomach you had for it. So understand that I don't
I was
know
still
those
young.
things. But my first thought was like you had to puke away from people. Okay, interesting. Because I didn't drink when I was a kid, so it's new to me. And then I thought,
Yeah.
I wonder what really happened there. Because if you looked up at the stars and were calmed by it because it gave you this calming presence, it made you realize, oh, like what I really am. and how you described it, well, that
Hmm.
means it's a contrast to something that happened in that drinking experience. It could be a certain person made you feel a certain way. It could have been a certain topic. You could have been, you know what I'm saying? Like that was my first thing. And I would suggest, I know it's hard now because it's probably so long ago, but re-exploring what was going on in my life at that time in a dark way. And
Yeah, there's always an
yeah,
anxiety too, like getting caught drinking underage,
right.
trespassing. So we're already doing things
What
that
the
we
world
shouldn't be
tells you
doing.
you can't
And
do, well, the world, your culture around you, your the laws.
yeah.
And so you're kind of in a moment right there as a young kid where you're trying. That's what they say. It's like rebellion and breaking the laws is so common with young kids for a while because you're testing the limits of this. You're not old enough to drink. And you're like, the fuck I am. And so you went and did it to enjoy being, because a lot of the times kids want to be adults a lot quicker than they should be. And that's the first thing you want to do is smoke
Oh yeah.
cigarettes, drink beer, probably vaping nowadays. And so you're trying to contrast your world around you. And in that moment, there's always, because when you're going and smoking weed with your friends and you got to kind of hide it, there's a little sense of fear. It's like we could get caught. Back when we were doing it, it was illegal.
Yeah.
So there's this added element, but there's a joy in that. But at the same time, you start to outgrow that. I don't want to be like scared all the time, trying to, get high or, drinking in public underage. So there's a contrast already happening that you were identifying that moment. And a lot of the times we don't realize that. And then you just went off and said, I got to go puke over here because oh, fuck this. So to me, there's already a story happening there. It's just all about how you want to pull it forward and identify these things. What kind of kid you want to portray in that? What do I want to remember? Because to be frank, I think being very
Well,
personal is the best thing you can do. Say shit you're fucking embarrassed to say. People want that. If you want people to read this, if this is just for you, I would still say that so you can get the most authentic version of yourself when you're old. And you're like, oh, that's who I really was.
it's hard to like make a thesis about it. And then, like I said, like I didn't even realize I was already writing the thing about me puking and looking at the star until, and then I realized as I was writing it, I remembered the
So
poem.
there's your connection. There's your theme.
So like the meaning
Do it.
always comes
Yep.
out of me doing it in the first place. So I can't just like have like a thesis because I don't know what the thesis is.
So,
I'm not the one
well,
coming up with
here's
this
the thing.
shit.
It's like if you're
It's
just
like,
remembering a moment of your life and it falls right in line in a very eerie way with someone in the past. So your first instinct is like, should I read more of his poetry? Should I familiarize myself with this guy? And you could, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, that's speaking, I call that the beacon. So when I go into these processes and I'm trying to like write these out and I'm stream of consciousness writing, something will hit and all of a sudden I'll see like, oh shit. You can take that and pull it apart if you want to find a thesis. But I find keep fucking swimming, keep telling that story, keep knowing that child, that kid, and move forward and see what more you can find. And then you can go back later and find things in the thesis. The thesis won't answer itself until you fully commit to it. And a lot of the times these things are born by accident. How many, I mean, my entire Forgotten series, I keep saying it over and over again. That is all on accident. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. I'm allowing it to tell the story. It's scary because you're just like, you want to, I talked about one of my videos, like you want to be able to be at ease so you can know like when to do stuff in the story to keep people listening. But I don't, sometimes it's hard to do because it's stream of consciousness. And as you're describing, you randomly stumbled onto this moment in your life. It boom, it reminds you of this poem, but you're trying to come up with this thesis up here. Well, there's your trinity. So it's like, how do I melt the three of these things? What is that saying? And you already sense, well, it has something to do with meaning, has something to do with this place in this world and what I'm supposed to be. So Walt Whitman was describing that when he was talking about I almost call them archaeologists, whoops, when he was talking about astrologers. So that's why when I heard that, it's like, so here's my question to you that would help you with your thesis. If you were to break down his poem line by line, can you define that?
look at it as experience versus like, street knowledge versus book knowledge or real world knowledge, right? Experience versus learning, like conceptual meaning versus like detailed meaning, number meaning.
What was the first one that came to you though? Yeah,
When
first
I
thing
when I
came.
first read it, I have no
First thing
idea.
that
That
came
was
to you
years
when you
ago.
first remembered it.
Um,
Does
the
that feel the
meaning
same
part,
way with your memory that you had about drinking with those kids?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't. To me, it like all I can remember at the time was that made me feel better,
Better.
and like it settled my stomach, and it was like, oh, all these things that I'm worried about are now
So,
small and
okay.
insignificant.
So better is what? What is feeling better?
I
You
don't
don't
have
have
to
to
puke
puke on a, let's go more mental. Why does that make you feel better? Knowing that, oh, okay, it's all chill, you know, which you just said what the sky reminded you of. Why is that better? Why is meaning better?
because in your perspective, you put things back in
Perspective.
perspective for me. That's what
Perspective.
it did.
Hmm. So why does that matter? Why do you need that as a human being?
Because worrying about shit sucks.
Better in this sense about control or about letting go?
Well, you're letting go of like
Hmm.
your worries and the things that bounce around your head that really don't matter a whole lot at the end of the day.
And what did Walt Whitman say in that poem?
Looked up in the perfect silence of the
Perfect
stars
silence of the stars. What did he say right before that?
till rising and gliding out. I wandered off by myself in the mystical,
Mm-hmm.
moist night air. From time to time, looked up in perfect silence at the
And
stars.
that's where it ends, correct?
Yeah,
Perfect silence. Interesting. Coming from self. What was the line before he went out there? What did he say about the astrologers?
he became sick and unaccountable.
Sick, unaccountable. How do you define that word in this scenario? I don't know.
Um,
I'm asking you.
doesn't get he doesn't give a fuck anymore.
So that was a response to the astronomers, right?
Yeah,
So when you were talking about the idea of exploring self, well, when I talk about it a lot, but you're talking about here this sense of feeling at ease in a way. That's coming back to yourself. That's how I'm understanding this. If I'm sitting here listening to all these guys talk about this book in particular and what it means and what it is, and here's all the allegories, here's what they're trying to say, like you can try and sit and go like, yeah, yeah, okay, okay. But when I sit down by myself and I read it and I'm like, I don't got any of that, what they said. Am I the fucking idiot? But I come to realize when you go to self, you get to this point and you're in that perfect silence, as the word says. That's when the answer will come. Damn. Hey.
all right. All right, let's wrap
So
this up then.
I don't even know what I said last. I don't remember. I could go line by line now. What the hell did I say? Do you remember what I said?
Something about self.
When no, I was getting to a point too. God damn. Um, the only thing I could think to do is just go line by line so I can be re-familiar with what the hell's going on, and ask you to define each
But
line.
I think you already got through to me. Um, I think I was just trying to blow up things too much.
Hmm.
Maybe it was even in a meta way. I was kind of trying to pack too much meaning into it and then destroying the meaning by tearing it apart and chunking
Easy to do.
down and like this, you know a lot about like mythology and um, these types of things, and they never have like a they call it aftercare now. You see these things are like they talk to you after like out of character and kind of break things down and make you feel better
Mm.
about the message. No, it's just like mythology. The stories
Mm-hmm.
are the message. So that's it. You
Tell
just
the
got to tell the
story,
story.
let it flow through you, and sometimes even when you're doing it, you're like, I don't get it. I don't see it. I don't see it. And there are levels to this. This is not the level if you want to become a published, a best-selling author. That's I don't know that stuff. But if you want to figure out the depths of yourself, the only way that you can know how, and that's through the way you can do it, this is the only way that I know how to do it. It's just going back through. It's like getting to replay your old memories and seeing what can I pull from this, and is there a constant thread in my life that I can use to string these along, or am I bouncing from place to place until I realize what is my meaning? Because that sometimes is why we lose meaning, because it's like, what's your meaning right now? What's your point? What's the point of your life? Right now, I got to go to work. I got to do this, and so it's
Yeah.
dependent on that moment in your life, and you have to pay homage to
If you
that.
want to become a best-selling author, just become a corrupt politician, because every one of them
I
gets
wonder
book
why.
deals.
I wonder why. There's power to this stuff, though. There really is.
Well, cool. I think that just about sums it up. You take care, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.
Horns.
Virtual backgrounds? None?
I think your
Now I'm
room's too
kind of
bright.
like gonna, yeah. Hmm.
If I move fast, and that's pretty good. Wow, I really feel like a piece of shit right now. This is kind of cool. I haven't been in a room this white in years.
See if there's anything else we could do here.
I'll take a latte.
Yeah. The corny as hell.
I look out of place now. I gotta take my hat off. It looks stupid.
Why would you be smaller? That makes no
My
fucking
video.
sense.
I want to see it though.
Oh, you know what you just did? It was working. All I see is just you now. I don't see me at all. Oh, there me. I'm at the bottom there.
Yeah, there you are.
Holy shit, dude. This is...
That's
Oh,
weird.
sorry.
Like, I'm like, this
What is the
fucking,
point of
like,
this? Like, so this is it, man. Like, that's it. I'm at this.
this one, I don't know, man.
All right, let's go back to the gallery. Stop
Hey.
immersive view for everyone. Hey, there we are.
Well,
Hey, look at that.
And for me, I'm just like a box. I don't even know. Should I keep recording this? This is ridiculous. Oh, man. Audio. Look how long it takes me to turn on some on my search bar. Look at this. Look at this fucking shit. Hey, look at that. Magic. It works. Oof. No, not Bing, you fuck. What the hell? Camera, dum-dum. Just open the camera. Oh, man. Oh, man. You sit on the couch. You take a shit. I don't shit on my couch. Do you shit on yours? I don't know. I don't remember. I never 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 remember. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Up comes the sun and dried up all the rain. But your itsy bitsy ding dong climbed up her thigh again. Oh ho ho, it's magic. You know, when you and me and me and me and we are all together now. You guys want to see something really cool? Cunt sucker. God damn it. Imagine people dying, God forbid. Yeah, I'm texting. I'm actually wanting to get up and maybe get myself something to snack on. Oh, God. Fucking. I'll be back, brother. Ate a couple of beef sticks. Ate a couple of beef sticks. We're unable to complete your request.